Hi there, welcome to day 2 of my A to Z of Leader. Forgive my appearance, I've been out gardening and working 8 hours with my garden project of working on fences and concreting and posts, so I'm a bit filthy and this is what I've been wearing all day, so forgive the appearance. Today I'm going to try and keep it short. I'm going to show you the song for the letter B, Bei Dir Allein, with you alone, with you only, and it's composed by the great Lieder composer Franz Schubert. Schubert's famous for lots more than just Lieder, but for German song there is no one with a more prolific output, and to have done it before the age he died at 31, it really is just remarkable. I'm just about to turn 30 and I can't imagine having written over 600 songs. I've still not listened to them all, but I have been working on a project recently where I'm trying to get through them all. I've listened to about 450 since the start of the year, and the more I listen to, the more I realise this guy's just a genius, a real Mozart level genius. He captures such beauty and just writes in a way no one else does. And his setting of poetry is just formidable. And he really, as I kind of highlighted yesterday, was the person that brought virtuosic piano writing to the forefront of the Lieder, continued by Schumann, but Schubert's ability to write these piano parts which no one could play. He famously said once to someone about Erlkönig, which he wrote when he was 18. They were complaining about the technical difficulties and how do you do this, and he was like, well, I wrote it, you have to kind of work it out. And like Beethoven, who had that kind of attitude, it really does bring this thrill to the music. Today's song is like that. It's a short one. It's a poem by Johann Gabriel Seidel, or Seidel probably, Australian poet, but also archaeologist and dramatist. The fun fact about him is that one of his texts was used to set Haydn's music for the Austrian national anthem for a time. And also his poems appear set in Schubert's music in Schwanengesang, written of the same year. This is a song from 1828 from a set of 4 songs, number D8, 866, D866, and this is the year that Schubert died, so only 31, tragic, but quite amazing to show how sophisticated he had become by this age only. It's incredible. I've put a link for the text of the poem below, and I've also put a link of a performance which I'll tell you about later. I'm not going to sing today, except for when I'm breaking it up. And yeah, it's a really fantastic song. It's a song I've loved since I heard it, and let's go to the piano and talk a little bit about it. This song. The first thing to say is actually how this song is similar to other pieces in Schubert's repertoire. The setting of the text, this really romantic and exuberant text, is reminiscent of some famous Schubert songs like Willkommen und Abschied, Auf der Brücke, which is a really fantastic romping song, and Erlkönig, opus number 1, which he wrote when he was 18 years old, which is this really fiery story with lots of different characters. And they have these almost impossibly fast piano parts. So in Bei Dir Allein we have this, which I can only do 2 bars of and still make mistakes. So it's so virtuosic, and there's just this adrenaline running through that, I think, for the whole song. That doesn't stop. It's what we'd call in musical terms moto perpetuo, this perpetual movement. Quite a self-explanatory translation there, but it's always going. It doesn't let up, and I think that there is something about that youthful love in this. And I like to imagine that perhaps that's the internal feeling of the singer, of something actually that's quite unsettled. And Schubert contributes to that feeling of sort of unsettled, wild love, because he uses not just a nice bit of the tenor range, he gives us some high notes, right up to A flats and into the tenor's kind of money notes, but he also goes down into the low notes of the tenor's voice, which are a bit weird. It's a bit of a strange place for tenor. And not only does he do that, but he does it really quickly. So we have the first melody. I sing that. Bei dir allein empfind ich, dass ich liebe. It takes me right through the voice, and it means that I have to really sing for a start. But I was the double consonant now, line, bei dir allein. It's almost an explosion, and then immediately explosion, empfind ich. We go right back up from the octave of a tenth. Quite amazing. Then the other thing to say about this song, in terms of the vocal line especially, is that the notational markings in the score are very specific, and that's Schubert becoming a more and more mature composer, knowing more what he wants. So a very familiar melodic shape in Schubert's writing, these which he does all the time, but here he writes a diminuendo on you. So as the tenor goes into the passaggio area of the voice, the high F, he gives us a diminuendo. So he shows us that it's not a triumphant das Jugendmut, it's das Jugendmut mich schwört, effortless. So it's actually kind of, there's a charm. So he shows us the moments of exuberance, then moments of charm, and that comes from such a small detail, but it gives us a lot of information as a performer. Further virtuosity comes from what music we call an ornament, and it's specifically a mordant. It looks like a bit of a squiggly moustache on a page, and in this context he has Bei Dir Allein. He puts a mordant on the dir, so instead of Bei Dir Allein we get technically Bei Dir Allein. That's a lot of notes to fit into dir da da dum da ba ba bum. You'd almost have to roll your tongue to do that rhythm in time. And so as a singer, you're presented with a choice. Do you go for precision or do you go for exuberance? And I think that that sort of almost impossible writing, like the piano, is part of what makes this song really romantic. Then we have the form of the song. It's quite a simple form. It's ternary, which is A section, then contrasting B section. Music's a bit different, and then we go back to A. So the A is almost an exact repeat of the first bit, which in this song is no problem because it's fantastic. But the B section is really amazing because Schubert looks at the cool side of this poem, and he creates that atmosphere firstly by going from A flat major into this E flat major, E major, which feels really deep and cool, I think, compared to A flat major, which is almost quite a bright key in contrast. And even just the way that fits under your fingers, there's a really stark difference as to your hands. If you play the piano, you'll know that. You're going in totally different places. So you have that change. You also have a change in dynamic, and we get this very Schubertian spelling out, almost kind of where Mahler goes. And the voice is low register again. Bei dir allein wird mir die Luft so labend. And we get the wind, Luft so labend, in that wonderful Schubert way. And because we're low, we can do anything with our voices. But interestingly, whilst this section carries on, the speed is still going all the time, but just calm, and that's quite an amazing effect. And into that, he skips all of these incredibly complex harmonies. I mean, that as a progression is just amazing, and he just tosses it off. It just kind of goes by without us even noticing. And I think that shows that at this stage how mature he is. Like, he's able to do these things without highlighting them, and I always think that's a great performer, a great composer, someone who can be a genius and a perfectionist, but just kind of not make a big deal out of it. That's just part of how they present themselves, and so they don't need to overly sell that. Really special. And then the final thing I'm going to just point out is that in the score, we have the tenor has this big, and I think this is a tenor song, has this big Bei Dir Allein. it's almost like the camera pans and zooms out away from this lover who just is going to carry on exuding this all day, because it's certainly not in the text for it to get quieter, and there's definitely no that big perfect cadence at the end. There's no doubt in there. So I think it's just a sort of fading into the distance, and we leave him to his business. So yeah, I chose this because it shows Schubert's mastery, just taking a simple form and theme, nice tune, nice form, and he just puts these virtuosic elements into it, and it just, with this effortless touch, like I say, and it's just brilliant, and I just love it. And the first time I heard it, it just excited me. Because of the pianistic elements of this, I am not even going to attempt to record this myself. I've sung a few phrases, but I'm going to actually hand you over to my favourite contemporary leader singer, tenor Werner Gura, and he performs this with Christoph Berner on forte piano, so that's actually the instrument from the time, and it has this really plinky plonky quality because of that, and so the virtuosity to get the pianos is even greater. It tells us a lot about Schubert as a pianist. Yeah, and it also allows these percussive and exaggerated dynamic elements to really sing through. Werner is a fantastic tenor for me. I just think he's great at leader because he commits to lyricism and technique, but finds all of the colours that any leader singer that's been praised has done, but whilst maintaining a real vocal integrity. You feel like he could sit up and sing you a Mozart aria or an opera role just straight away. And I think this really shows that, you know, the kind of the breath, the length of the breaths soaring into the top. It's just great. So I really hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you tomorrow for another short one. Thanks.